Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's Trevor Stockwell with you today, and I'm joined by another great guest, Rachel. Now, she's here to help us look after ourselves better. And as an outworking of that, we can then help others. So do you want to feel good? Do you want to feel calm and achieve results and reach goals? Is it possible? It is. And Rachel's the lady to share her wisdom. She's learned firsthand on how to do it. She's a success coach working with professionals and corporate teams. She's an expert in work-life balance. And she's also the author of the book, Self-Care for the Seasons. Welcome, Rachel Letham.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. We definitely do need to tap into your wisdom on getting the right work-life balance. I'm sure everybody listening at some point finds that a challenge. So, no, that's really good that we're going to have a conversation about that. But before we do you want to fill us in a little bit on your journey, your background? Because 80-hour weeks were part of the schedule, weren't they, at one point?
Yeah, so I've been there and I've done it and I've tried to come out the other side still smiling. So yes, I'm a positive mindset and wellbeing coach, and I work with business owners and companies to help transform their business and create success in a holistic way. So it's all about boosting business without sacrificing individual wellness and balance. So my background is in the fresh produce industry, where I had a successful 13-year career in quite senior positions. So I covered everything from traveling around the world, sourcing and importing berries, to running pack houses, heading up special operations and strategic developments. And then latterly I was in branding and corporate communications. But it's a very fast-paced, sort of crazy industry to be in. People don't really think about how do you get food from one place to your table, but actually it's food, so it has a short shelf life. It's actually worth quite a lot of money, and it's quite stressful. So yes, I spent a lot of time in the office, probably surviving on coffee and then wine when I got home, and didn't really have the work-life balance.
Yeah, there's a lot of people nodding, sure, as they're listening to you tell that story. A lot of people have been there. Kind of one of the reasons why a lot of people become entrepreneurs as well, I think. They do realise that it's not sustainable. This is not what I really want to do. So how did you then kind of make that transition?
Well, I've kind of always been a bit of a side hustle person. So even when I worked 80-hour weeks, my hobby was to run online fashion and lifestyle magazine. So slightly crazy because it was still another business. So I ran an online fashion and lifestyle magazine for probably about 7 years, because that was actually my sort of relaxation and my downtime, oddly, traveling around the world to go to fashion weeks when I was on holiday from the day job. But I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. So from that, I ran my own brand strategy and social media consultancy. And I've always had that kind of creative side of things that I wanted to do in business. And I was fortunate that at the time when I probably was reaching my own corporate burnout, I said to the business that I was working with, look, either I go and I'm done and, I'm out completely, or you let me go to a 4-day week so that I can have one day off to be creative, run my own business. And actually, it kind of all turned out for the good for me and for them, because I churned into the role that I latterly had as branding and corporate communications was actually from my own personal skill set. So I ended up doing for them what I was doing in my own business. And I just got really interested in the world of personal development. So the reason that I became a coach is because I realized I was starting to sort of end up my own corporate burnout. So I started to focus on mindfulness and self-care, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I did a lot of my own personal development. And that's why I realized I had like a real passion for it. So I trained as a coach with Mindful Talent, so all about mindfulness. And I just really loved the sort of world of self-care and how to bring it more into your day-to-day life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of the time in the back of our minds, we know it's important, but then when you're trying to get the next client, the next contract, the next deal, for rightly or wrongly, we pick that as the the lesser priority to look after ourselves. And you can do it for a short period of time, but there's a knock-on effect afterwards, isn't there? Eventually the body will catch up and explain to you that I'm not able to function this way. Yeah, exactly. No, it's good that you recognized that when you did and came to the point where you came out of it before, something really drastic happened.
Definitely. There's a whole big story alongside that, which we don't have time for, but yeah. I think these things happen for a reason, and you realize that actually, in order to be able to be the best version of yourself, you do have to spend some time on self-care, and it's not a selfish thing. I like to say it's actually quite savvy. It's what you need to do. And particularly as business owners, we spend a lot of time working in our business and on our business and not necessarily on ourselves. And, if you are the only person that's running your business and then something happens to you, then what happens to the business? So it's really important that you try and create the best version of balance for you.
Yeah. Because like most people go into start their own business for longevity, don't they? They want to be doing the same sort of thing. Well, I suppose unless you hit the billionaire status and then you early retire. But generally people are passionate about what they create their businesses for. So it's less about work and more about what they're passionate about and being able to do that more. But then factoring in the fact that, I've got to look after now so that 20, 30, 50 years, however young you are when you start, maybe, you're still around or fit and able to enjoy the profits of a successful business later in life. So, that's key. So what would be some of the things that we could do, or what would be some of the things you would flag up to say, these are the definites, the non-negotiables, as you put it, as to what we need to include?
Yeah, so I think this is very different for everybody. So I always say there's no sort of real self-care prescription. You've got to take from it what works for you. And my kind of phrase is you do you. But first of all, I encourage people to have a look at, what is important to you and what do you need to be doing every single day to make life work, is what I call this sort of piece of work. So it's looking at those non-negotiables. So what are the things that you need to be doing to nourish your body, mind and soul in order to be performing at your very best? So it's having a real breakdown of those things and trying to establish some real concrete new habits to make sure that you are living your best version. So for example, if you have a bit of a bad day, or a bit of bad week, it's just looking back and going, well, actually, what's missing? Have I not been eating very well this week? Have I actually not drunk enough water and therefore I'm feeling really tired and really lethargic? I've not done any exercise this week. Is that something that's important to you? So it's having a look at what are those non-negotiables and creating kind of a bit of a checklist in order to make sure that you're doing those things every single day in order to make life work. So I always cover the kind of basics from, sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough hydration? Maybe you're a person that likes to have a green smoothie every day and you realize you haven't had one for 3 days. It's tapping into those things. So nutrition for your body. And then it's also some of the real basic things like connection. So having a good chat with a friend and making sure that you're spending time to connect with other people. That's one of our basic needs in life. And so it's not just sort of food and drink and exercise, but actually the things that are really important to you. So it might be, I don't know, that you play a musical instrument and you find that's really relaxing and you need to have an hour a week of doing that. And it might be that you need to have a yoga sessions. It's about what do you need to do as an individual and not worrying about anybody else and just making sure that you are bringing those non-negotiables, not necessarily into each day, because that can become quite a lot. And it's not about adding something else to your to-do list. This is about bringing powerful habits that just become a natural thing for you to do each day. So it doesn't have to be the same thing every day. It can fluctuate, but across kind of the course of the week, are you doing all the things that you need to do to be bringing the best version of yourself to the table?
That's very succinctly put. Yeah, well done. I really like that. It's like find what your soul desires and give it more, isn't it? Give it a good amount of food, soul food, every day, every week, however it fits. And I also like the fact that what will work for me won't necessarily work for other people. We're wired differently, generally within kind of 4 different personalities, so we lean in certain activities and how we express ourselves. So it is finding that path that works for us. But it's the key things that we need to be reminded of, isn't it? We should function really our optimal if we've had enough sleep, quality of sleep. hydration as well is important. I think one of the things you mentioned there, which I think generally, I know I've not done this for a long time, only kind of started really last year doing it, it's just spending time to reflect. Doesn't mean necessarily you have to spend long at any one point, but just reflect on, where am I, or what was good about today. On the days when you feel up, you feel more buoyant. What's happened, what have I eaten, what haven't I eaten, that sort of stuff. Have I had more rest? Because the more we can reflect, I mean, you help people through the coaching period as well, and that's a really key way of setting time aside to then focus on those sort of things. Which is really good for people that maybe aren't yet at the point where I'm not sure I need a coach yet. The step towards that is the reflective kind of moments of what is working, what isn't, and like you say, it's just kind of working out what that is for the individual.
I like to say it all starts with awareness, so it's really just tapping into taking time to think, what do I need to do today, what do I need to be today, what do I need to have today, and recognizing what you need in order to be able to move forward. And like you said, just tapping into what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, and almost like, it would be even better if, and just being able to reflect on that is something that doesn't have to take very long, but I think is a really good way of almost like decompressing the brain, particularly if you're somebody who's working on their own and not having, another person to bounce ideas off, or also, just sort of take things out of your mind. It's a really good way of just being able to get some clarity on where you are and where you're moving forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good. And I suppose coupled with that mindset, so we talk quite a lot about mindset, and we do kind of, quiz is probably the wrong word, but we do chat to our guests about mindset because it's so key. It's one of those things we never really nail completely, and it's good to hear from different people some of the ways that they kind of train their mind or focus their mind. And I know that, again, through the coaching process as much as anything else, you help the individuals and the corporate teams to focus on the things that are important, to have the right kind of perspective and the right mindset. So what would be some of the things for people listening, and I'm sure I can learn stuff as well. I'm always an avid student with regards to improving our mindsets, but what would be a couple of things that maybe you've found that work for you or for some of your clients that help to get the mindset focused in the right way?
Well, it's quite a big area, really. But what I tend to use, I use a model called CREATE. So I break this down. So the CR of CREATE is current reality. And I think it's really important before you try to make any big shifts or even make any big decisions, understanding what is your current reality. So where are you at right now? What's working? What's not working? And this is a kind of deep dive into all areas of your life. So it's not just business or work, because everything has an impact on something else. So it's literally sitting down, writing down all the things that are important to you in your life, and ranking those out of 10. So how satisfied do you feel from 0 to 10? And it's just understanding, like, where are the priorities, and actually how can you start making some shifts? And I think sometimes we're so wrapped up in our lives that we don't have that time to sit and reflect, like we've talked about. And so it just gives a really good kind of 360 perspective, so that you're not just focused on business as well, and you can just get some clarity of thought as to how life is right now. Then the EA of CREATE is explore alternatives, and this is where I spend a lot of time with my clients, is really starting to look at, what does the future look like? What's your vision for the year, or for even just the next 90 days? I'm really trying to understand and sort of brainstorm everything out of your mind onto a piece of paper to get some real clear clarity on what's important to you and how do you want to move forwards, because that's where we can start to then focus on, are there any limiting beliefs that come into that? Is there any stories that are kind of holding you back from being able to make decisions or take inspired action? And so it's really trying to understand almost what's blocking the mindset in order to be able to move forward. So we spend a lot of time in that exploring stage. And then the TE of CREATE is target energy, which again is a real big part of what I do, and sometimes a little bit different to other coaches. So I really tap into your target energy and try and get you into a space where you are understanding what success looks like and what it feels like, and almost, what it smells like. It's got to that point. So you can really tap into that energy and really keep the momentum, when you're having a tough day or a tough week. And I think, the curve of success and the curve of the journey that we're on as business owners, you start with a really sort of excited phase, and you just want to get going and you want to take action. And then there's this kind of messy middle, as I like to call it, where, things come and affect us, and things don't always go right. And in order to come out the other side and have the successes, you need to be able to have the right kind of mindset to be able to deal with that messy middle. So that's where with clients I work on vision boards, positive affirmations, meditation, just some real solid ways to try and start shifting that mindset and move forward.
That's really good. Yeah. I've heard, when you mentioned vision boards, actually, earlier on today, somebody else mentioned about vision boards as well. And I had one a little while back. I understand the importance of them. Having stuff in front of your eyes regularly helps you shape and focus the picture that you want to bring about. I think without that, we are kind of lacking something. So yes, I will take that on board and dust mine off, review it, maybe change a few pictures.
And it's not just about having it in front of you, it's about tapping into what do those pictures really mean to you, and sort of what is the vision and how will you feel when you achieve that vision. And it's really resonating with that energy. That's where when I do my kind of vision board courses and classes, it's really focusing on how do you want to feel, because that's what you can try and tap into when things aren't necessarily going so well, or even if you're just sort of coasting along and not seeing any big changes. It's really trying to get into a space where you're in a really positive mindset to move forwards.
Yeah, because if we get emotionally involved, the actions will follow, won't they? That's the key part. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's really good. So is all or any of that in your book, or unpack your book a bit more?
So there's probably many different small bits of that in my book. So Self-Care for the Seasons is very much, I wrote it because I have a newsletter that I send out called the Self-Care Survival Kit, and I send that out once a month. And I realised normally when I write it, I have to be quite neutral, because I have readers who are based in the UK. I have readers who are based in New Zealand and Australia. So they're on different seasons to us. So I can't be talking about the joys of spring necessarily. Yeah. They're slipping into their winter. And also people are at different stages of life. So the element of self-care for the seasons is about the physical seasons, also the season of your life. So I have people who are new parents. I have people who have now got an empty nest. I have people that are working, people that run their own businesses, people that have retired. So I have to be quite neutral. And so what I wanted to do is be able to share some of the tips that I've kind of been brewing up and be able to segment them into that way, literally for the seasons. But what I also cover is the real fundamentals of self-care. So why is it important? Really establishing the basics. So that comes from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of what are the basic needs that we need to establish before we can reach self-actualization. And then a big chunk of it, which probably comes from some of the things that we've covered, is building powerful positive habits and really being able to bring self-care into your day-to-day life. Like I said earlier, not having it as another thing to add to your to-do list, but just seeing it as like a natural part of your life. And so each chapter I kind of go into some detail about the sort of background of that, and then I give some tips to help you bring self-care into a way that works for you. And so probably, there's tiny bits of everything that I've talked about, and positive affirmations and mindset work that comes out of all of that.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds a really good book, actually. So you've also got the Self-Care Survival Kit deck of cards, haven't you? Like another product that...
Yes, but they're now sold out. Globally sold out, yes.
There you go. So when they're back in stock, why would someone get those? How can they help people?
Well, sadly, they're not coming back in stock. So the book is the next stage of that. So the deck of cards was a kind of tarot size deck of cards, 52 cards of really quick, easy to implement tips of how to bring self-care into your day-to-day life, covering body, mind and soul. So it was the kind of first iteration of a product to come out of the Self-Care Survival Kit email, where I kind of felt like I was sending this email and it was going out into the ether and that was it. And it was probably staying on my mail server and not going anywhere else. So I wanted to bring these those tips so that people could, have them to hand wherever they were, whether they're traveling for business or at home, to be able to delve into. So the next iteration of that is the book. And then now that the email is just still going. So if you want to have those tips, it's best to join the email list and then have them once a month.
And also get the book as well.
Yeah.
No, that sounds good. Okay. Yeah, no, that's really good. So what would you say would be, for people that are listening, whatever state they're at within their business, what would you say, maybe you've touched on this enough already, but just what would you say would be the 2 or 3 key things that would be beneficial for them to focus on and to actually put something into practice tonight, tomorrow, whenever they're listening to this? What's the initial thing? Because it's all about momentum, isn't it? Taking a step toward where you want to get to, and then maybe have a conversation with you, book some coaching and dig into the proper deep stuff. Because I think I need to be careful, because I'm a coach as well, so I understand where you're coming from. People that maybe won't necessarily understand the same, but we can't help ourselves properly, fully, to get out of certain mindset ruts that we're in. I think like the best coaches have coaches because they understand you need external input as well. So whilst I think definitely people should have a chat with you to see what sort of coaching will work for them. But what would be tonight, tomorrow, the first steps to the journey of greater self-awareness, looking at the things that really kind of resonate with them, getting in touch with their emotions as to what they want to bring forth going forwards, kind of thing? Because it may well shift the direction of their business completely if they really discover, actually, why am I doing this? That's not what I want to do.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things there, really. I think the first one, and you just touched on it, is awareness. And I think by doing, and people tend to call it the wheel of life, but what I talked about with the current reality is just having some time to actually focus on how do you genuinely feel about different areas of your life and how truly satisfied are you. And I always take this a kind of step further. So yes, rank it out of 10. So 0 being not very and 10 being very satisfied. But really kind of have like maybe just 3 bullet points as to why have you given yourself that score, and also what surprised you about that. Because quite often, particularly as business owners, you're very focused on the business or maybe certain things that you realise, well, actually, I haven't been doing so much of this, or I haven't seen so much of these people. And you just get a bit more of a clearer perspective about how life sits generally. So that awareness piece is very important. And then you can make a choice as to how to move forward and to try and get some sort of focus and momentum on certain areas. And like I said, sometimes, it might be that a business owner feels that they just don't have the energy to get up and do certain things. Well, actually, if they focus on their nutrition and their exercise, that might give them more energy to be able to do some of the things they want to do in their business. So everything has an effect on each other. And something that I think is very powerful is actually looking at your network that surrounds you and trying to see, and I do a piece of work called the Personal Boardroom, which is all about 12 specific roles of people that can support you, particularly in what you're doing in your business. And it might be that you might have a whole chunk of people that are very similar, and that you're missing people like an unlocker, so somebody who can open some doors and help you make progress on certain things. It might be that you're missing a challenger, so someone who is going to come up against some of the ideas you've got, and not necessarily in a negative way, but proactively push you forward. And so it might be that the network that surrounds you is not how you really need to progress and meet your goals. So sometimes it's just looking at some areas of life that are quite simple to start working on, but we just don't have time to do that. And so my third suggestion on that is having what I like to call a CEO day. So yes, you spend a lot of time working in the business and you work on the business, but you don't take time to sit back and really look at it as an overall, and that kind of helicopter view of, if you are the CEO of this business, rather than doing all the different jobs and all the different roles in it, what do you really need to do? And have one day to just be able to have some solid time, some real strong thinking time of what are the things that you need to do? What are the things that actually maybe you don't need to do, but you think you need to do? And is there anything you should be saying yes to? And is there anything you should be saying no to? So just really being able to have a step back from day-to-day activities and check that things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, That's powerful, isn't it? Yeah, we don't do that enough, I don't think. Yeah, I think we do generally get so caught up in the day-to-day stuff that, yeah, it's like, well, we need to make money, we need to, do this, that. Maybe it's also partly, if we're honest with ourselves, it's an excuse to not address the things that, we haven't got right, that are maybe not in balance. We just keep going into the activity of it. And like you say, having someone like a challenger around you, they can spot your blind spots as well, can't they? If you've built a good kind of trusting relationship that goes two-way, then you'll benefit from them being able to point that out to you, because they'll be doing it from the authentic kind of motive rather than try and make you feel bad or whatever. So yeah, having the right people around you, I think, is key. Kind of touching on that as well as you were speaking, it's like assessing, who have I got around me at the moment? And like, if you're leading the organization, is everyone just saying, yes, boss, great, keep going, and they're not really behind you, or they're not going to challenge you because you're the boss, and they don't feel that maybe you haven't built that kind of relationship with them where they're allowed to have that sort of input, which can be detrimental as well. If we're not careful, we can box ourselves in a little square that just doesn't help us really. We need that input from people around us.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, that's really key. This is all really helpful stuff. I think everybody listening, I'm sure you understand how powerful this is, but yeah, do need that sort of input as well. So that's really good. Yeah, I like that. So what are some of the maybe slightly detour from what we've been talking about, because I think what you said is really good, and we've covered a lot of good stuff that people can put into practice straight away. So maybe just in the last sort of few minutes or whatever of our conversation today, what were some of the challenges that you've worked through that's sort of taken you from the early days of leaving the big job, the side hustles, then becoming the main kind of business that you either got through yourself or maybe through some of your clients? What are the sort of pitfalls that you've seen having to deal with that we could learn from and avoid?
Yeah, oh gosh, there's so many. I could probably write a whole book about those.
That's the next book, maybe.
Yeah, the next book, Pitfalls of Business Owner. Probably already exists. I think I've already talked about it, and there's probably a technical term for this, but the kind of journey of being a business owner and the emotional highs and lows, and the sort of real highs and lows, and how we have emotion every single day is different. And I think it's being able to recognize the good stuff and acknowledge the bad stuff and understand and learn from that. So, things that might have been complete failures, that actually it's understanding why has that been the case, and how to move forward and make progress. And I think for me as a business owner, who it's interesting, in my sort of corporate life, I was always part of my team. But I probably was maybe fortunate that I never managed anyone else directly as such, apart from maybe a couple of people. So I've always been a self-starter. I've always just got on with stuff. And so I think I've just been able to crack on and keep doing that as a business owner now. So I've not really lost the sense of needing to work with a lot of different people. But I think one of the things that's important is almost having that sounding board. So, I have a couple of different coaches that I work with on different areas, and I have an accountability buddy, and I run a group coaching mastermind, which actually benefits me as well as the people that are in it. You need to have the support around you, and we've talked about the network as such, but it's not necessarily somebody that is going to help you achieve a goal, but it's people that understand where you're at with your business. They resonate with you and they're on the same wavelength, but they're maybe not directly competing with you, so you can have some quite open conversations. But I think it's really important as a business owner to make sure that you're not on your own in this journey, and have the right kind of people around you to support your business and cheerlead you on, and maybe try to minimize the people around you that aren't going to support you in that business, because that is going to bring your mindset down. It's not going to keep you in a right sort of powerful, positive space. So I think, they say you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most. But I think that's actually really, really important. And it's all about, and I've talked about energy before, but making sure that you're keeping your sort of emotional and physical energy at the best possible level in order to be able to keep going and do what you want to be doing with your business.
Yeah, that's really good. That is, a lot of wisdom in just that last couple of statements there as well. Thank you for that. That's really good. It's almost, as you're saying it, I'm thinking, most of the time we concentrate on networking to get new business partners or new contracts, new customers, where some of the time we need to spend some of that energy networking to build relationships that, we maybe don't look to sell to. They're not that type of relationship, but have a crowd around us that really helps support us through the tough times, because everybody, if you're on the planet and you're alive, you're going to have tough times. So you do need a support network around you. So no, that's really good. Talking of support networks and helping people like that, just as we wrap this up now, how's as well as the book, I would certainly encourage everyone to get a copy of the book, because it sounds like it's a manual that you can refer to at different points rather than sit down and read it to cover and then done that.
Yes,
it's
sure.
Refer back to it for certain lessons for what you're going through. But how else could people touch base with you in the best way? So to explore the coaching avenue or the masterminds?
So I'm quite prevalent on Instagram. So send me a direct message there at Rachel Letham. I have two websites, rachelletham.com and rachelletham.coaching.com, where you'll find out more about the mastermind. Yes, I'm sure you'll put those all in the show notes.
Links,
just have a chat. So I like to just be able to understand how best to support people. And so I have numerous different options and ways of working with me. And I think it's all about an evolution of what do you need right now, but also what can help you push you slightly out of your comfort zone and get you moving in the right direction. Because sometimes we are sort of our own worst enemy. We hold each other or hold ourselves back. And that's why sort of realizing that a coach can help support you and move you forward is a really sensible investment to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I would, back that completely. Yeah, we do definitely need other people's point of view, just to help them to see ourselves. I think that's a lot of it. It's not so much that we turn up and you tell us exactly how to solve our lives. It's more that you help us unpack the stuff that is actually inside of us, but we're just not aware of it, or we don't take the time to.
It's all about asking powerful, positive questions, I think. So I don't have the answers. You all have the answers inside yourselves. I just ask the right questions to find them.
Yeah. And for anybody listening, if you've not experienced a coaching interaction, the process with a coach, you don't know what you're missing. You really don't. There's one or two questions can just unlock a mindset shift that can make all the difference. So I'll highly recommend having a chat with Rachel, definitely. So that's it for our time today. Thank you for all of what you've shared. There's lots of different areas we've managed to kind of hit on and help whet people's appetite to just explore further. How can they make their lives better, isn't it? How can they look after themselves better so that longevity is part of the future rather than a negative consequence of health or whatever. Different pitfalls that we want to try and avoid, help listen to avoid. So thank you for that time. Definitely check out Rachel's website below. There'll be links. Have a conversation, get the book, buy it for a friend. I don't get commission, so there's no reason why I'm saying it other than I think it will really help. So definitely, have a look at that and follow Rachel on Instagram and just stay in touch with positive stuff that Rachel puts out, because I know it's going to help you. So and we need more of that. We really do. So thank you again. I will
thank you very much.
Episode up with thanks to you and to everybody listening, and we will catch everyone on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yeukai.businessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.